ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ महागणाधिपतये नमः। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। नमस्ते. Welcome to this 13th session of Viveka Chudamani. Incidentally, tomorrow is 13th of April. Tomorrow, we are going to celebrate one of our important festivals, Ugadi. It is believed that Lord Krishna's Niryana commenced in the early hours of this day, which corresponds to 18th February 3102 BC. That is exactly 5123 years ago. And it also marks the beginning of Kali Yuga. Yugadi, the new year, is also celebration of arrival of spring season. This is the time of the year when the entire nature appears to be drowned in the festive spirit, and there lies the spiritual significance of Yugadi. Like the new year leaves, new buds, fresh breeze, and bright sunlight, the Yugadi festival also symbolizes the birth of a new era. It is celebrated on Chaitra Shukla Padya. It is also a beginning of Vasanta Rutu. The festival is celebrated as Yugadi in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. Maharashtra celebrates this day as Gudi Padava. Today, we are bidding goodbye to Sharvari Nama Samvatsara, and tomorrow we are welcoming the Plava Nama Samvatsara. We have had a very difficult year behind us. We have lost many lives, and some of us have undergone the suffering due to that monstrous virus. We continue to live under its shadow, and hopefully, as the new year has dawned, we will come out of its clutches, see the bright sunlight of good days in our lives. With these thoughts, we wish you all a very happy Ugadi. Now, getting back to the classroom, today we are going to study Brahma Nirupana and Mahavakya Vichara in the next set of shlokas. Before that, Dr. Kiran will give us a quick recap of previous class. Kiran sir?
Hari Om, Gurubhyo Namaha, welcome. Tattvamasi Shvetaketu. These 4 to 5 classes are very important and form core of spiritual teaching, not just Vedanta. So I request all of you to go through the classes multiple times, take printout of the reading material provided and slides. This will be useful in future. Shankara uses Shruti, Smriti, Prakarna and logic to analyze Tattvamasi. The first part which we have studied before deals with Tvam Padartha, that is the essential nature of individual I, whereas the second part deals with the nature of universe or Brahman. It can be divided into 2 portions, Brahma Satyam, which is 66 to 67, and Jagan Mithya, that is 68 to 73 verses, which we have studied last class. This part today will be studying Jivo Brahmaiva Na Parava Paraha, that is Asi Padartha. Next slide, please. Next slide. Now let us recap what we have studied before. Tatpada Vichara or Swarupa of Brahman. I will give you 3 important keys in this presentation. The first is Swarupa. What is Swarupa? Swarupa is intrinsic essential nature which cannot be separated. For example, fire. Its intrinsic nature is to produce heat. You can't have a cool fire or a dark light. And nothing else can provide this. That means, for example, space. What space provides, no other substance can provide. So that is the Swarupa of space, is to provide space. Whereas Guna is an external temporary attribute, like, red hot metal ball, which we study very commonly. After some time, it cools down, or the reflected light of a crystal. Next slide, please. So another important thing we have to study is red. Let us take an example of a red rose. So the red describes the color of a rose. There can be a white rose, there can be a pink rose. In line, if you take sweet sugar, the sweet sugar cannot be anything other than sweet, or wherever sweet is there, sugar is there. So what this means is describes the content. So Swarupa, what we have read in with reference to Brahman, what is the Swarupa? It is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. That is the essential nature of Brahman. Satyam means absolute reality or independent existence, always available. And Jnanam means the knowledge or the nature of consciousness. And Anantam is limitlessness or infinite. All three together describes Brahman or the essential nature of Brahman. Next slide. The other descriptions, it is Shuddham, pure, transcendental, self-evident, etc. Next slide, please. So let us now study the Brahman and world. This comes into play when we deal with Vyavahara or the transactional world. We know that Brahman is the cause and world is effect via Maya. So Brahman blesses Maya. Brahman doesn't create or change or anything. Brahman creates Maya, and through its two powers, that is Vikshepa and Avarana, the world manifests. Through Vikshepa, the Stula Prapancha comes and Sukshma Prapancha comes, whereas through Avarana Shakti, the Sushupti is there. So separation of Maya from Brahman is only conceptual, like a dance from dancer. You can't separate both. And here, Brahman forms the Adhara of the whole world, which is described in the verse 69. Next slide, please. So, from 70th verse onwards, we'll deal with Jagan Mithya topic. So, is the world real or unreal? If we accept world as real, then will be two things which are real. So that means at one end the God begins and stops, and then the world begins and I is there, which is not possible, because this means the God becomes limited and so becomes mortal. So I can't tell rest of the things. Veda as pramana will be under question, and Atma Brahman will be limited. Then the question of who created God and who created that person, etc., an error of infinite regression will come. So the world has to be unreal. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. The world is not so real, or Jagan Mithya. This is the second key which I am going to give. This world is experiential, but not independently existent. It is seemingly real. Don't think of world as some illusion and you can't see, you can't feel it and all. It simply means that now it is real, whereas previously it may not have been real. For example, somebody hits me, I'm angry now. Before I was never angry, and tomorrow I may not be angry. So this anger is not real, it is seemingly real or unreal. So if the world has been fully real or real, then it will never be. Why it is not seen in deep sleep? So this verse says, from Paramarthika angle, even this waker world is as unreal as the dream or deep sleep. Next slide, please. So how this occurs? Due to ignorance or bhayam, the rope appears as a snake. So the root cause is superimposition due to ignorance or avarana. So the third key I'm going to tell is the Mithyatvam of Jagat can only be negated by understanding the Satyatma of the Brahman. So understanding the Satyatma only can negate the Mithyatvam. Without knowing this, if we try to negate the world as unreal, it will come back and bite at you very badly. So knowing the truth of the Brahman, Lord here declares, I am not in them, no beings are in me. That is, world is mithya, superimposed on Satyam. So Brahman alone is truth. Next slide, please. Idam Vishwam Brahmaheva. What you look upon the world is nothing but Brahman alone. So Satyam Brahma, it was, it is, and it will be. That is existence. Jnanam Brahma is the knower, knowledge, and the known. Anantam Brahma, limitless and includes all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kiran, for a good recap of a very important section of the Viveka Chudamani. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Congratulations to all of you who have persisted in these classes. We are now in the 13th class, and all the studies of the previous class will help us to come to the key of all Vedanta, which is Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, or better understood as Aham Brahmasmi. Adi Shankara has given us the essence of all Vedanta in half a shloka. This very famous shloka which says Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. But the original shloka is like this. Shlokardena Pravakshami Yad Uktam Grantha Koti Bihi Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. This is the topic that we are dealing with. In the last section, which was just summarized by Dr. Kiran, we spoke about the Satyatvam of Brahman. The more we are clear about Satyatvam of Brahman, to that extent, the world becomes a lower order of reality, just like a person who has woken up from his dream. He has come into a higher order of reality, now sees the dream as a lower order. The world becomes more, the reality of Brahman comes in. In today's class, we will be entering into the key section of all Vedanta, which is the recognition of that glorious Brahman which I have now recognized is none other than my true nature. All of us know that God is infinite. What do you mean by the word Brahman? The word Brahman comes from Brihat, means infinitely big. So big, that means it encompasses everything. That means Brahman, or the God principle or God, is everywhere, as told by Sri Krishna in this particular verse. Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana eva. I pervade in and through everything in an unperceivable manner. But if a person is spiritually awakened through words like Sri Krishna's words, now we are trained to feel the presence of everything around me as a manifestation of Sri Krishna or the Brahman. So Sri Krishna or Brahman or this infinite principle is everywhere outside me and also within me. Now that is the big jump, to be able to see Brahman not only outside, but to be Brahman as myself and as my real self. The more we have this understanding, the world fades into a sense of reality. When we are watching a movie, we need to remind ourselves that all those characters that are moving on the screen are not as real as the screen on which it is projected. Although the sound and the lighting makes us feel that we are watching something real, we all know that whatever we are seeing is only images and images and images, and it is not as real as a screen which is projecting all of them. Once we come out of the movie theater, then it looks like we are looking at the world around us as absolutely real. All of us who have some idea of neurology know exactly how we see the world. In order to be able to see or experience the world, we have to experience through our eyes, and our eyes are only glorified forms of a video camera. That means anything that is in the world outside has to come into my eyes through the lens, and it is projected on the retina, which is photosensitive. And so the whole world will now become a small upside down image on both my eyes. And then the optic pathway, now there is a transducer which connects, which transforms light energy to electrical energy. And finally, those images are transformed into electrical signals, which is processed by the brain. And those two images are fused, and what was upside down now becomes straight, and it becomes one image. And finally, the whole world now has been reduced to an image or a thought. So the world has now become a thought. The whole world is images and images. Now, if you really understand, you will realize this is what is called Jagat Vidya. The one who is seeing the world is like the one who's seeing the images on a movie screen. The images on my eyes are not different from the images in a movie screen. And that is why we call the seer in me, the Atma Tattva, the consciousness in me, which is able to experience everything. The experiencer, the Drik, is of a higher order than all the images of the world. And this is what is called Jagan Mithya. We've heard so much about the Satyatvam of Brahman. Brahman is Nityaha. That means Brahman is there all the time. Shuddhaha, Buddhaha, Muktaha. Brahman is the only Satyam, and Brahman is the nature of Shivoham. Through this understanding, what we need to be able to say with absolute confidence. That is why Adi Shankara has sequentially taken us through Panchakosha Viveka, where we have negated Neti, Neti, I am not my body, mind, this, Mano, Buddhi, Ankara, Chittani, Naham. Then Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. The jump now is, I am Nityaha. My body is there for some time, but the one who is the real me, I have been there from the very beginning, if there is a beginning, and I will be there for all time. I am of such a nature, which Sri Krishna calls as Anaga. He called Arjuna as Anaga. Anaga means that which cannot be contaminated like space. My real nature is Shuddhaha. My real nature is Buddhaha, or the nature of consciousness. I am already free. Moksha is not something to be attained, but this is a Siddha Vastu, that I need to claim that I am already that. I am the only reality. I am Satyaha, and I am Shivaha. I am not other than Shivaha. All our speakers today, through various forms of reasoning, will try to convey this message very clearly about Aham Brahma Asmi. We begin with Dr. Netra, who will be concluding the Jagan Mithya to tell us this world is not as real. Dr. Netra, please.
Namaste, Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So in this verse, we are going to discuss on the Swarupa Lakshanam of Brahman. Next slide, sir. So the first line of the verse, Atha, therefore, Jagat, world, Asti, is not, Pratak, separate, from Paratmanaha, Brahman. That is, the world is not separate from Brahman. Though the world appears to be independently existing, independently real, but it is not. This is Nusa, false. It is not true. This is just like the dream world, where in the dream world, it appears very real, independent, but you realize that it is unreal on awakening. There are multiple substances which can have multiple nama rupa, but a single substance. For example, the mud pot. You know that it is two different nama rupa, but it is a single substance. Similarly, wood and desk, two nama rupa, but a single substance of wood. Like that only for the jewelry and the gold. So the Vedanta wants to convey to us that the world is a product of Brahman, and because of the two nama rupa, there is so much of ignorance and there is so much of confusion. So coming to the next slide, Gunahivat. Gunahivat, Gunaha means Raju, a rope. Ahi is a snake. So this is a snake which is superimposed on a rope. And this is the example given by Shankaracharya for us to realize the relationship between Bhagavan, Brahman and the world. So let us take a situation wherein there is a room and there is a rope lying on the floor. So you can have three situations. So you enter the room when it is dark. You're not able to realize that something is lying there. That is, you're ignorant because you do not have the knowledge. So coming to the next situation, when you enter to the room, when it is partially lit. So because it is semi-dark, you're not able to make out the exact substance lying on the floor and you mistake it to be the false snake. So when you realize that, you become anxious, you start trembling, you are with fear, you start sweating, and you may even run away for a false snake. So you realize your partial knowledge, your ignorance is not making you realize the real rope which is there, and it is making you with so much of mental agony because of the partial knowledge. So you go back, and now coming to the next slide. So you realize that you have not understood what is there, and you take a extra light, a torchlight or a flashlight, and you come back and realize that the snake, what is there, is actually superimposed on the real rope. So then you become relaxed. So you realize that you needed the extra light to see that the real substratum or the adhishtanam rope on which was a superimposed snake. So you need a guru with the light, that is the Shruti Pramana and Vedanta Pramana, to give us the correct knowledge of real Brahman. So coming to the next slide, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. This is going to be discussed extensively in this topic. So when you tell this to a lay person, what does it get conveyed? That the world is unreal and Brahman is real. He will not be able to make a proper sense and understand the deeper meaning of this. So Shankaracharya gives in his Taitriya Bhashyam, that is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, that is whatever has a same form at all time is Satyam, and whatever keeps on changing the form at different time is Mithya. That is what happens to the dream, that is what happens to the world. So the world is a changing principle, whereas Brahman is the changeless principle. So coming to the next slide, the last line, Aropitasya asti kimartavatta, that is, for the superimposed, what is the validity? Adhishtanam abhati brahmena. Due to the delusion, the substratum is not made up. That is there an independent existence for the superimposed snake, for the superimposed dream, for the superimposed world? So you know that the real existence is of the substratum. For the snake, it is the rope. For the dream, it is the nidra. So for the world, it's the Brahman. So these superimposed substances do not have a validity. So finally, it is for us to understand that Brahman is real and the world is unreal. So with this, we conclude the Tat Padartha topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Netra, for a nice explanation of the important section of Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. That means whatever I experience is of a lower order, and therefore there must be a higher order. And that higher order is what we call as Brahman. We now make a big jump that Brahman is none other than the one who is experiencing this world. To come to terms is very difficult. Let us see, Vani, if you will explain this section. Over to you, Vani.
Hari Om. The verse goes like this. Tattvam padabhyam abhidiya manayoho brahmatmanoho shodhitayorya dhitam shrutya tayos tattvamasiti samyak ekatvameva pratipadyate muhuhu. The word meaning is, Edi, if tattvam padabhyam, by the words, tat is that, tvam is you, abhidiya manayo, indicated, Brahmatmanoho, of Brahman and Atma, Shodhitorya Ditham, if analyzed in the said manner, Tattvamasi iti Shrutya. Tattvamasi is said as said by the Shrutis. Tayo, there, Samyag is well, Ekatvameva, oneness alone, Pratipadyate is pointed, and Muhuhu is repeatedly. So if Brahman and Atma are indicated by the words Tat and Tvam, that is that and you, and are analyzed in the said manner, the oneness of Brahman and Atma is repeatedly pointed out by the Mahavakya Tattvamasi. You are Tat. So what are these Mahavakyas? The statement revealing the oneness of Jiva and Ishvara are called as Mahavakyas. And this is a central teaching of all Upanishads. And there are 4 Mahavakyas, that is Ayamatma Brahma from the Mandukya Upanishad, Pragnanam Brahma from Aitareya Upanishad, Tattvamasi from Chandogya, and Aham Brahmasmi from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. This verse speaks about the aikyam of the individual self and the universal self, Brahman. So the individual self is the Atma, universal self is Brahman. So aikyam here, it means the oneness or non-difference. It is not the joining or union between these 2. So any sentence, if we consider it has both Vachyartha and the Lakshyartha. Vachyartha is the direct meaning and Lakshyartha is the implied meaning. If we take the Vachyartha in this Tattvamasi statement, it doesn't give us any meaning. It is so contradictory because the individual self and the Ishvara cannot be same, because Jiva is limited and it has name and form and it is subjected to birth and death, subjected to vikaras, but whereas Brahman is the opposite of this. So we have to consider the Lakshyartha of this statement and the contradiction gets dissolved. So when we consider the essential nature, the intrinsic nature of both Brahman and Atman, we see they are the same. So we say Brahman created this world, that is a Jagat. But Brahman is Nirguna, Nirakara, Nirvikara, Akarta, Abhokta. We have studied all this. So how did he create this world? So with the help of Maya Shakti, he created this world. So this Brahman with the dress called Maya is called the Vyavaharikam Brahman. And Brahman without the dress of Maya is called the Paramarthikam Brahman, whose nature is Satyam, Gnanam, Anantam, that is Satchit, Ananda. Similarly, when we consider the Atma with the dress of Sharira Trayam and Panchakosha, it is called Jiva. So this is the Vyavaharikam Atma. And without the dress of Sharira Trayam and Panchakosha, it is the Paramarthikam Atma. So the essential nature of this is also Satyam, Gnanam, Anantam, that is Satchitananda. So we see the essential nature of both Brahman and Atma are the same. We can understand this with an example of wave and ocean. So when we consider the wave, it is limited, it is subject to death and birth, but ocean is unlimited and not subject to birth and death. But the essential nature of both the wave and ocean is the same water. So the nature of both wave and the ocean is the same. And again, if we consider Brahman created this world or the Jagat, so he is the Karanam. And the world of the Jagat is the Karyam. So consider the example of golden ornaments, as Dr. Netra said. So ornament is the Karyam and the gold is the Karanam. So the Karyam always has Karanam in it. So the world has Brahman as a substratum. So Brahmatmano Ekatvameva Pratipadyate. So the oneness of Brahman and Atman is revealed here. Tattvamasi, it is Samyak Shrutiya. So what does the Shruti says? The Shruti says without any ambiguity, the oneness of Brahman and Atma. Ekatvameva Pratipadyate Muhuhu. The Shruti repeatedly reveals this oneness of Brahman and Atma. Hari Om, Doctor.
Thank you, Vani, for a nice explanation of something which is very difficult to come to terms, because we always see Brahman, the infinite, as so big and I am so small. And how can you ever equate? That is why the next few speakers will be giving, as Vani did, through Shruti, through Yukti, through Anubhuti, through scriptural words, through logic and through our own experience. And also what she already mentioned, what is called Vachyartha and Lakshyartha. Vachyartha is the commonly accepted meaning. When the commonly accepted meaning sounds ridiculous, then you have to use in language, we always do that, what is called Lakshyartha. So subsequent speakers will be talking about some of these may be a little repetitious, but if this has to enter into our head and become a nishta, because only through Aham Brahmasmi that Jivan Mukti is possible. So we will listen to these again and again, this time by Colonel Vijayan. Over to you, sir.
Hari Om, Gurubhyo Namaha. We know that the knowledge given in our Shastrams are unique. We also know that this knowledge cannot be cross-verified by any scientific means. Hence, any vagueness in understanding this knowledge can only be clarified by the Shastrams. Each word in the Shastram is packed with knowledge, and to understand each word, one has to embark on an exercise called the Shabda Pramana Vichara. Each word has more than one meaning and conveys its meaning by a method called vritti, or function. When the word is used by its primary function And the most popular function, it is called Abhita Vritti. And the interpretation conveyed is Vachyartha. Next type of Vritti is the Lakshana Vritti. When the word is used to convey the implied meaning, it is called Lakshana Vritti. And the interpretation conveyed is Lakshyartha. Lakshyartha can be Jahati Lakshana, Ajahati Lakshana, and the Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana. Next slide, please. From verses 241 to 253, Shankaracharya ji is analyzing the Mahavakya Tat Tvam Asi, which reveals the oneness of Jiva and Ishvara. Tat refers to Ishvara, Tvam refers to Jiva. Tat Tvam Asi means the you, the Jiva, are identical with Ishvara. This is called Jiva Ishvara Aikyam. When you take the primary and the popular meaning of the word Jiva and Ishvara, we know that Jiva is a conscious being with inferior attributes like limited knowledge, limited power, and many defects also like papam, etc. Whereas Ishvara is a conscious being with superior attributes. Naturally, we wonder how can there be oneness between Jiva and Ishvara when they have got totally opposite attributes. One with inferior, other with superior. One is a worshipper, another is worshipped. One is created and the other is a creator. One is dasa, other is swami. Thus, between Jiva and Ishvara, they are diagonally opposite attributes. How are we to assume the oneness revealed by the Shruti? In verse 242, Shankaracharya ji explains the same. The Atma Brahma Aikyam is never possible if you take the Vachyartha, the primary meaning. Tayor Vachyoha Aikyam na nigatyate. They can never be equated. Not only that they are not equal, they are diagonally opposite. Anyoni Viruddha Dharminoha. They have got mutually opposite attributes. One is Karyam, the other is Karanam. Shankaracharya ji substantiates this statement by giving 4 examples. Example 1, Katyoda Bhanavoha Ivaha, the glowworm and the sun. Jiva and Ishvara are diagonally opposite, like the glowworm and the sun. Both are in the sky. The sun illuminates the entire world. The other cannot illuminate but a few millimeters. Example 2, Raja Brityoha Ivaha, the king and the servant. One is a ruler, another is ruled. Similarly, Ishvara is the ruler and I am ruled. Therefore, Jiva Ishvara Aikyam is ridiculous. Example 3, Kupa Ambarusyaha, the well and the ocean. Well is Apurnaha, ocean is Purnaha. Apurna Jiva and Purna Ishvara can never be equal. Lastly, Parmanu Meruvoha, Anu, which is the smallest in size, and Meru, a huge mountain. How can they ever be equated? The teacher himself acknowledges that Vyavharikam Atma and the Vyavharikam Brahman can never be equal. Lekshita Yohana Vachyoha. We have to go for the secondary meaning, Lekshita Yoha, not the primary meaning. Secondary meaning of I is pure consciousness. Secondary meaning of Brahman is all-pervading consciousness. Therefore, Lakshita Yoha Aikyam Nigatyate. Equality or sameness is pointed out from the standpoint of the secondary meaning and not from the standpoint of primary meaning. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, sir. That was a nice explanation of a difficult verse. I will make use of this slide to reinforce a few things. This is based on a wonderful talk by Swamiji on how we have to interpret these words so that Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikyam, Aham Brahmasmi becomes meaningful for us, and therefore I can claim I myself to be Aham Brahmasmi. Now, there is something called Vachyartha, which is the commonly used meaning. And whenever the commonly used meaning does not become meaningful, then you have to take an implied meaning. There are three types of these commonly used words which can be in Lakshyartha, or of three types as shown in this slide. One is called Jahati, the other is called Ajahati, and third is called Bhagatyaga Lakshana. This is going to be explained by subsequent speakers also, but you know, when there is a repetition, we will be able to understand this. Vachyartha, for example, the Jahati. Jahati, you would hear Australia is coming to India for a cricket match. Now, if you take the word meaning, Australia, the whole continent moving towards India, is it going to be a continental shift? I mean, we don't think like that. We drop it immediately. That is what is called Jahati. Australia is dropped completely. Australia and India is dropped, and we take only those cricket players who are coming from that country. And when you drop the original, that word is called, that way of understanding that form of Lakshyartha is called Jahati. Sometimes what we need to do is, we not only we have to take it, we have to add something. For example, you go to a hotel and you ask for idli. Now the person will, if a person by some mistake brings an idli and gives it to you, you'll get very upset, because that is now how you take an idli. You bring an idli in a plate, in a container, but along with the idli, you need sambar and chutney. That means there are many things which are implied other than what you have asked for. And this is called Ajahati. And then there is a third context, what is called Bhagatyaga. Bhagatyaga will be explained. For example, when you say, I had a dip in the Ganga. Ganga is 2,500 miles from its origin to the Bay of Bengal. But when you say you have had a dip in one part only, and you have tyagad, you have given up everything else. You will understand again when you say, I have eaten a mango. When you say, I bought a mango, you mean the whole mango. But when you say, I have eaten a mango, mentally you have eliminated the skin and the seed and so on. That understanding, that Lakshyartha, when you take away the unnecessary and retain the essentials, that is what is called Bhagatyaga. If this is remembered, subsequent speakers will also be speaking about it. We are still continuing Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam. Apeksha, the next verse is yours.
Hari Om, sir. So this verse talks about the seeming contradiction between Jivaha and Ishvara and clears all the doubts. Tayor virodha ayam upadhi kalpitaha na vastavaha kashyat upadhireshaha ishasya maya meheta adi karanam jivasya karya shrinu panchakoshaha. So have you ever been on a stage? Every one of us have been on a stage, and we have seen the projected, the projector which projects the light. So when we go on the stage, sometimes we'll see the red light, sometimes we'll see the green light, or sometimes we'll see the blue light. But essentially behind the projector, there is a white light which is coming, and each one of us knows that, right? And when you superimpose the colored glasses in front of that white light, we know the colored light results into it. So there's white light, and then there's colored glasses, which results into the different color lights. Now, how does this suits in the present context of this verse? So this shows that appearance, what is appearing to us is not reality. Reality is just one, which is white light, and appearances can be many in the form of different lights. Similarly, consciousness is the white light here. And when we talk about the Jiva and the Ishvara, it is nothing but pure consciousness. And when you superimpose the different attributes which are caused by external factors called upadhis here, it results into Ishvara and Jiva. So when consciousness is superimposed with Maya Upadhi, it results into Ishvara. Now, what is Maya Upadhi? It is the creative power. And when you have the creative power, you have the power it is the cause of the creation, the Karnam. So the cause of the Mehet, which is nothing but the Hiranya Garbha, it starts the first product of the creation. So Maya Upadhi superimposed on consciousness results into Ishvara. And when consciousness is superimposed with the Panch Koshas or the created body, it results into Jivaha, which is the Karyam. which is the effect. And whenever there is a cause and an effect, it results into distinguishing between superior and inferior. And that's why Ishvara and Jiva are considered to be superior and inferior. There is a seeming transfer of attributes. It looks like that, the attributes of Maya and Panchakosha has been transferred, has been superimposed into consciousness, but it is not like that. Consciousness is the white light, and this can only be cleared by clearing the notion in our mind, knowing that appearance is not reality. Reality is just one, which is the white light, the consciousness. But one doubt which arises, and so next slide, please. One doubt which arises that may come is, are there three different things that we are talking about? When we talk about Advaitism, how can there be three different things? One is consciousness, which is the white light that we see. Then second is Maya Upadhi, nothing but Ishvara, the red light that we see. The third is Sharira Upadhi, which is the blue light that we are seeing. Now, Upadhis, these Upadhis are the lower order of reality. When we talk about lower order of reality, it is mithya. It appears to be real, but it is not real. The reality is that there is only white light. There is just consciousness. And when you superimpose these upadhis or attributes, these external factors, then the red and the blue light emerges. Ishvara and Jiva, appears, and they are all imaginary. Like Swami Anumananda ji always says that, it's a beautiful example which he says, as a woman has to play the role of a daughter, of a wife, of a mother. And in case the husband, goes away, there's a divorce that happens, suddenly the wife disappears. The wife that was supposed to be so real, you believe that, that is your role, it is real, it just suddenly fades away. So these appearances of a daughter, wife, mother might be there, but the reality is just one woman, one white light, the pure consciousness behind it. Hari Om, sir.
Thank you, Apeksha, for giving nice examples to illustrate what is that which is common and what is all the differences. You began with the example of the white light, and then you brought in the idea of the same white light because of these filters. The filter here is the costume, which is the word used as upadhi. The upadhi is a loaded word, but for transactional purposes, we can take it as a costume or medium through which we function through. So being the upadhis being different and upadhis being contextual, you see the differences between Jiva and Ishvara. And that is why when we come to Jiva Ishvara Aikyam, we have to do what is called Bhaga Tyaga. You have to retain one part, that is the white light part or the Atman part or the consciousness part, and to remove the Upadhi, which will be spoken by the next two speakers, beginning with Dr. Sheila. Over to you, Dr. Sheila.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shankaracharya is analyzing the Mahavakya, which is the central teaching of the Upanishad. Mahavakya taken here is Tattvamasi. The verse goes like this: Eta upadhi parajiva yotsa yoha samyan nirase na paro na jivaha rajyam narendrasya bhatasya ketakaha tayorapohe na bhato na rajo. You can see in the next slide, that is, the first two lines are explained. Eta upadhi. May you note that there are two upadhis. As sir said, the simple meaning of upadhi is costume. Of whom are these costumes? Para jivayo ha. Para is Ishvara and Jiva is Jiva. So it is creator Ishvara upadhi is Maya, Karana upadhi. Creator individual upadhi, Jiva upadhi is Sharira Trayam or Panchakosha. As long as you focus on these upadhis, there are only differences in dasoham. Standard example given is wave and ocean. When we focus on them, there are only differences. If we don't want the differences, then we have to go to water. So how to go to this? Tayo samyan nirase. Nirasa means setting aside or negating. When both these upadhis are intellectually negated and set aside as mithya, then there is na paraha, na jivaha. Na paraha, na jiva is no Ishvara and no jiva. It is only Brahma Chaitanyam, that is Satyam. So these negation is presented in Vedanta Shastra in 3 different ways. First version, Ishvara is Ishvara with only Maya costume. When Maya is Mithya, therefore Ishvara is also Mithya and Brahman is Satyam. Second version, how can one say Ishvara is Mithya? So Ishvara is not Mithya because behind this there is a Maya costume, and also, sorry, Ishvara is Maya, behind Maya costume is Brahman. So the second version is Ishvara status or Ishvara Tattvam is Maya, which is Mithya, and Brahman is Satyam. Third version, as Ishvara is a mixture of both the Brahman and Mithya, so it is Ishvara is partially Mithya and partially Satyam. Similarly, Jiva, first version, Jiva is Mithya, Atma is Satyam. Second, Jivatvam is Mithya, Atma is Satyam. And third version, Jiva is partially Mithya and partially Satyam. So remember, for all transactions, that is Satya Mithya mixture is required. Otherwise, it is only na paraha, na jiva. Without Upadhi, it is only Brahma Chaitanyam. In the next slide, the Shankaracharya gives a very good example. Rajam Narendrasya Bhatasya Ketakaha. Narendra means ruler, the king. The Upadhi for him is Rajyam, that is kingship or the kingdom. So Bhatasya Ketakaha. Bhatta is soldier or army man. For him, the Upadhi is Ketakaha, that is uniform or his weapon and armor. The whole entire equipment is called Ketakaha. They enjoy their position as long as their attributes are there. That is the commander and commanded, ruler and ruled, controller and controlled. Tayoha pohe na bataha na rajaha. Apoha means elimination. When both their costumes are removed, they are na rajaha na bataha. Dasoham relationship goes away. There is no, that is commander and commanded relationship. There is no differences. They are just human beings. The next slide, the Nidithyasam slide. So to study Mahavakyam, Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana is required. So you should take a special meaning, that is a Lakshyartha, not the Vachyartha. So at absolute standpoint, there is no Jiva, no Ishvara. It is only Satchit Atma, that is Brahma Chaitanyam. There is no small Atma, there is no big Atma, there is no gradation like water in wave and ocean. So when Mahavakyam clicks, it is Dasoham to Saham or Soham, that is Tattvamasi. This is the culmination in Advaita Vedanta. So lastly, Swamiji concludes, be Dvaitin in all your transactions, but behind, let there be a knowledge of Advaita. Watch the movie, enjoy it, but remember the truth, na rajaha, na bhataha. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sheila, for focusing that the real difference between Brahman and the limited Jiva I is the Upadhi, the costume through which we function. So if the costume can be Bhagatyaga, if it can be segregated, that's what we are going to see in the last talk by Pannaga. Over to you, Pannaga.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. As our minds try to grasp this profound truth of the Mahavakya, Shankaracharya explains it using Lakshana. Can we go to the previous slide, sir? Coming to the verse. Tatastu tau lakshanaya sulakshyau tayora khandai karasattva siddhaye nalam jahatya na tatha jahatya kintu bhayarthatmikayaiva bhavyam. Here, tau, meaning both, refers to Jiva and Ishvara, whose Lakshya, their true meaning or Lakshyartha, is arrived at through the process of Lakshana. Once this special meaning of both Jiva and Ishvara as the pure Nirguna consciousness principle is arrived at, the seeming duality merges into the Akhanda Eka Rasattvam, the undivided, indivisible, single entity. Nalam jahatya na tatha ajahatya. Here Shankaracharya tells us that to understand the Mahavakya, we cannot apply either jahati or ajahati lakshanas exclusively. Kintu, however, ubhayarthatmika eva bhavyam. We should only consider the ubhaya lakshana, which is a combination of both jahati and ajahati lakshanas. Next slide, sir. Let us understand these types of lakshanas with a very simple example. Consider you've grown up in the US in the 80s. Consider you've grown up in Bangalore in the 80s and have then moved to the US and settled down. A lot of your friends have done the same. After many years, all of you meet up in San Francisco. Suddenly, a tall lady enters, introducing herself as Saumya Murthy. Your friend who had invited her comes and asks you, "Do you recognize this lady?" You look at the lady, but you simply can't place her. Then your friend helps you. Remember Deepthi Rao from primary school, a thin, short girl with 2 pigtails who used to sit next to you on the first bench? You both used to be very good friends. Suddenly, it flashes and you remember Deepthi Rao very well. But you ask your friend, how is that Deepthi Rao related to this Saumya Murthy? Then your friend smiles and answers, Deepthi Rao is Saumya Murthy. She changed her name after marriage. You're shocked. At this moment, the new Saumya walks up to you and starts talking. Slowly it dawns on you that she is the very same Deepthi, your childhood friend, and you feel a great happiness with this knowledge. How did this realization happen? It happened because you dropped the contradicting facts, the changed names, the varying physical features of her as a child and now as a middle-aged lady, the vast differences in time and place. And then you concluded that despite all these differing facts, the person is still the very same. Next slide, sir. To sum it up, Lakshana is the process of arriving at the implied meaning, Lakshyartha, from the literal meaning, Vachyartha. In this case of equating the young Deepthi in Bangalore and the older Saumya in the US, we drop the literal meanings of the words. This dropping method of the literal meaning is called Jahati Lakshana, derived from the root ha, meaning to drop. Now, Ajahati Lakshana is when we do not drop the underlying essence, which is the continuous individual behind these changing attributes. Therefore, in this example, we have used a combination of both Jahati and Ajahati Lakshana called Ubhaya Lakshana, where a part is dropped and another part is retained. Hence, this Lakshana is also called Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana. The same Lakshana is applied in the wave and ocean example. The wave is a tiny, fleeting, superficial movement of water, while the ocean is a vast, deep, ever-present water body. How can we ever equate them? But when we remove the inferior attributes of the wave and the superior attributes of the ocean, we realize they are both made up of the very same salty water. Next slide, sir. The same Ubhaya or Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana is used in understanding the Mahavakyam. Tat, meaning that, refers to the all-pervading Nirguna Brahma Chaitanya of Ishvara. Here, we drop all of God's superior, infinite, glorious attributes. Tvam refers to you, the embodied Nirguna Atma Chaitanya in the Jiva. Here again, we drop all the Jiva's inferior, limited body-mind attributes. But in both cases, we retain the constant, unchanging, pure consciousness principle. Thus, the teacher reveals to you that you are not a small Jiva, but you pervade the entire universe as Brahman. This is a liberating Gnanam, Tat Tvam Asi. Hari Om, thank you.
Thank you, Panaga, for giving us a very nice conclusion talk on this Aham Brahmasmi or Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, because the basic distinctions are only the Upadhi. Because the younger body and the older body, there are so many differences, but the person is the same, which means I, the real me, is someone other than the body which is constantly changing. This body mind, which is called the Upadhi, and that is what we need to do as Bhagatyaga. We need to be able to drop something and retain something, and that is how you will be able to understand. We will try to understand all that we have studied again through a form of a story. And this story is something we might have heard before. It is a story of a father and a son who was walking on the street, and the little boy was a little shocked to see two men walking together, one in a uniform, and the two were handcuffed to each other. And the boy was asked his papa, why are these two people chained to each other? And the father explains, the man in the uniform is a policeman. The other man must have committed some theft or something, and therefore he is taking him to the police station or to the court. After some time, the boy saw something a little more, a similar handcuffed situation, but a lot of gunmen around him. He says, Papa, why are there so many gunmen around these two people? So the father explained that this person is a bigger thief. He might have armed friends who may come to help him to escape. And therefore, there are so many gunmen around to see him, see that he does not escape. After some time, the boy saw something unique. A VIP was visiting his town, and the car was surrounded by so many gunmen. The boy got so excited, he called his papa and said, Papa, come here and see, the biggest thief has come. So the father now had to explain, in the first example or the first two examples, the uniformed person, although they were handcuffed to the person, is the boss, and the person who was handcuffed was the thief or the slave. But in the last example you saw, the story is different. The person who is sitting in the car is the boss, and all the people with guns around are the slaves at the command of the person who's sitting in the car. Now, this story we all know, and how do we analyze these stories? These are very popular Vedanta stories, a favorite of all great teachers, and one of the favorite stories of Swami Chinmayananda. One of our greatest gifts that we have realized again and again through the study of Viveka Chudamani, as a human birth, we have free will and we have this human intellect, and through our gurus and scriptures, we realize one thing: I am not my body. This body is only an upadhi, a medium of instruction. And therefore, I need to disidentify from my body through this process of Bhagatyaga, and to understand that Atma Tattva within me is the real me. And once I understand, then we realize the more I am identified with my upadhi, it is like a person who is handcuffed. And if your attachment to the body is much more, because you have a bigger family, you have a greater property, the attachment becomes so much more stronger. And when the attachment becomes stronger and the body identification becomes more, it is difficult to become detached. But through Guru Shastra Upadesha, if you are able to understand Naham Deham, as Ramana said, Koham, inquire who you are. And then you realize Aham Brahmasmi, Saha Ahamasmi. When there is no body identification, then the person becomes a Mukta Purusha. A person can still be surrounded by all the gunmen. Now these upadhis now become the glory of the person. It does not become a restriction for such a person. Thank you. Hari Om. We will conclude. Over to you, Venkatesh Prasad.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, friends. We have come to the end of today's class. Next week, we will study a few more verses of Viveka Chudamani. Let's not miss our Friday class, which is the final session of Bhaja Govindam. Please log in by 6:45 p.m. local time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.